Hello and welcome everybody to another StarCraft 2 cast by Glitch. Today I am going to be casting for you some more games from IEM Kiev quarterfinals. So, spawning in the left position of dual site as the blue Terran playing from South Korea for Team Slayers, we have MMA. His opponent spawning in the right-hand position as the red Protoss playing from Team Millennium, the Belgian Protoss, we have Feast. Now, Feast, for those of you that would remember my cast from 2 or 3 days ago, I don't remember when exactly it was, but I know I recently did some games of, I believe it was Feast versus Dimaga, where Feast did not fare so well, but overall at IEM Kiev, he did really well, and everyone was talking about Feast, and everyone's been talking about him ever since, so I decided to look into some more games from Feast, and was going to see how he could fare against MMA. MMA is probably one of the best Korean Terrans out there, which pretty much means that he's one of the best Terrans in the world. He is way up there, probably top 3 Koreans in the world. Just ridiculously good, really freaking good. Gonna have to see how he's gonna be playing this match out. So far, everything is looking perfectly normal in both bases. This is dual site. It's a fairly balanced map in this matchup. A lot of times, players don't worry about this map too much in TVP. Just because it's got its fair number of chokes, but it's also got its big areas for fighting out in the middle of the map as well. This map not going to particularly favor either player. Looks like MMA is going to be going up and getting this early refinery. Looks like Feast is going to be getting in here, and this is exactly what Feast is looking for. With this early scout, when you're scouting against Terran, this is absolutely, if you get nothing else from your opponent's base, except for maybe the fact that he's building a barracks there, if you don't see any barracks there, well, then you got to worry about getting proxied. But assuming there's a barracks there, the first thing you want to scout is this refinery. You want to see if he's getting gas, because that almost always tells you that you're either going to be seeing a Reaper pretty soon, or you're going to be seeing some factory play very shortly. And in the case of a TVP, you're most likely going to be seeing maybe something 1-1-1-ish. You might be seeing some of that. You might see a quick starport, might see a quick Banshee there. You're not going to be seeing a quick 1-Rax expand. I have seen players get this barracks start to throw down a factory. There we go. The factory is now going down for MMA. I have seen players start to get factories and then expand, but I generally tend to not like that quite so much. I always say if you're going to go for that fast expansion, then you want to get that out as fast as possible, and you really want to get that up and running, especially if you're going to be scouting. Absolutely critical if you're going to be going for any kind of fast expansion build ever. Now, MMA did get a good scout into his opponent's base, did see that it was a fairly standard opening here from Feast. Notice Feast went for Gateway, Core, Cybernetics, no Core, instead decided to go for this Nexus here at the Natural. So he is going to be getting that Nexus. We do see Warp Gate research is on the way. One Zealot is just about to get to MMA's base, and he's going to poke up in here and see that there is a reactor going down on this barracks. So he's going to be wondering what is the deal with that reactor. Is he going for one base? He didn't actually see any command center. Well, that would be because there is no command center anywhere going down in MMA's base, and the starport has just now been thrown down, so it looks like it is going to be a 1-1-1 here out of MMA. Could be very strong against Protoss, but on the other hand, a lot of Protosses have been practicing against 1-1-1s because there was a time when 1-1-1s just became extremely popular on ladder. For a while, pretty much all Terrans were doing against Protosses were just lots and lots of 1-1-1s. So a lot of Protosses have been practicing against 1-1-1s. So we're going to have to see how well Feast is prepared for any kind of 1-1-1 play. We do see second gas now being taken here, 2 more gateways being added on, no other tech being added on quite yet here for Feast, but he does have this proxy pylon down here in this southern position. He could try to do some warp-ins there and try to go for some quick attacks. He is moving out with a Zealot and 2 Stalkers and moving across the map. MMA is starting to move out on his own with a small group of 7 Marines that he has been double producing out of that barracks. In the meantime, he has been producing Hellions as well as a Medevac out of this starport. We do now see a tech lab going down on this factory. Is that going to be used for siege tanks, or will he be swapping that with the starport to try to get that Banshee? Oh, the Marines all got caught out by those Stalkers, and there is no running away from Stalkers. If you are Marines without stim, Stalkers move faster than you and shoot farther than you, so it's a very pretty much there's not a whole lot you can do. And oh, beautiful little move there by Feast as he moves the 2 stalkers there into the hold position and is able to block those Hellions from getting up into the base. Not too much damage done there by those Hellions, and now Feast is getting a few SCV kills here down at the bottom of MMA's ramp as he tries to pick off a few of these SCVs as he tries to repair those supply depots. We do see the bunker has now come down for MMA as he is now putting all of his Marines in there, repairing them up. For those of you that don't know, oh no, the Hellions tried to come back there, but Feast was blocking MMA's own ramp, and so those Hellions could not get up into that base, and he did lose a couple of them here. He does have this medevac over here in position. It looks like he was going to go for some kind of a drop play, but that little play has now been messed up here for MMA, and MMA is going to be feeling a little bit behind. If we check out the Harvester count right now, we can see Feast is way ahead, 36 Harvesters to 22, because that early 1-1-1 build was completely shut down. What MMA was going for was that he really wanted to get those 7 or 8 Marines down here, load them up into that medevac, drop them off up here, come back down, grab the Hellions, go right back up again, and try to deal some good damage there. Completely bypassing the front door of Feast's base, but as we can see, he is just going to be dropping off 1 Hellion where, well, 1 Hellion is not quite good as 4 Hellions and 8 Marines, so it looks like he is just going to have to pull back from that to safety. Now, we don't see any command center going up for MMA. We do instead see more barracks now being thrown down here. We do see that a Raven is now being produced, and we do have a Banshee that is now coming across the map right now. Going to start to get a few worker kills here, and he's going to start to pick off probes there. Not the quickest reaction time there from Feast, but now he does have a few stalkers there able to deal some damage to that Banshee. That Banshee does not have cloak. There is going to be a Raven now coming out onto the field here for MMA as he starts to build a bit of an army. It looks like MMA is just going to go all in here, not going to try to go for any kind of expansions. Looks like he's just going to go for one big attack at the front, but if he does, he's going to need to do it very, very soon as Feast is starting to get way ahead in Harvester count, and his army is starting to get really, really big. As we can see, Feast is already way ahead in the food count, 54 to 74 food. Feast is way ahead. Robotics facility is now up and running. He's now pumping out those observers as well as immortals. Going to be very, very strong in this mixture, and oh, with these 3 stalkers at the front of the base, looks like he's going to scout MMA now, moving out with these siege tanks and these Marines, and looks like MMA is going to finally move to get aggressive here. He's going to need to deal a lot of damage. There was 1 Raven produced here by MMA, always good to have, just so that you can start to pick off those observers in your base, as well as any Dark Templar harass that might come from your opponent. But I think Feast right now is feeling pretty comfortable right now, as he does have a lot of warp gates up right now, as well as this robotic facility pumping out a lot of immortals. Looks like it is currently sitting at 5 warp gates. Immortals being chrono boosted out like crazy. We see 1 immortal out already, but we will see more very shortly, as 1 is already on the way, and MMA not moving out as quickly as he could be. I don't know. I'm not sure what exactly it is that he is waiting for. He does have Combat Shield on the way right now that is going to be finishing up here very soon, but that would have been done either way if he moved towards his opponent's base. As you can see, he's just continuing to tech up more units here back home, and I just don't know. By delaying this push this much, siege tech is not quite done yet. Well, that could be a big critical component of this attack, and as we can see, he is now moving out here with a bunch of units, but I just don't think it's going to be enough. As we can see, Feast is already sitting at 120 food to the 74 of MMA. The second base has just been up and running for so long. Notice no gas has been taken. That's going to allow him to get a lot of minerals, which is going to mean he's going to be getting out lots and lots of units in general. Minerals usually translate. Oh no, these siege tanks don't have their siege mode yet. They cannot be sieging up yet, but it looks like MMA is still going to be pushing Feast back towards his opponent's base. Oh, Raven taking a little bit more damage than it should be. Needs to be very careful with that Raven. That Raven at this point, all it can do is add an auto turret to the attack potential of MMA, and MMA is just going to be sieging up here, back here, and oh, does get 1 free shot off on some of those units, but notice he is still not building a command center. He is completely all in with this attack. Barracks continuing to produce more and more units. Starport and factory not being used at all right now, and MMA is continuing to push. I'm actually surprised that he didn't pull more SCVs with this. Notice he does have a few SCVs in this mix, but I'm actually kind of surprised he didn't just pull them all, just because this is really all in. If this attack doesn't work, he is pretty much dunsies with this match. And we will be forced to move on to game 2, but it looks like MMA trying to get aggressive here, trying to force a fight to happen, because he really needs to do that. The longer he waits, the bigger Feast's army is going to be, and Feast is just going to be moving in with a ton of zealots right now, and 3 immortals, 4 immortals now in the mix. Stalker's doing a lot of damage to all these Marines. There are still a good number of forces out here, and MMA is going to continue to push forward, and this could actually be a little bit scary for Feast. He's just going to continue to pull back. He still has a lot of Immortals, which are very, very good against siege tanks. Just needs to produce more and more Zealots to really be able to take on these Marines and hold them in position, absorb some of the damage from these Marines, and as we can see, that's exactly what they're doing as Feast continues to push forward once he has those Zealots, and as you can see, as soon as the Zealots go down, he starts to pull back just a little bit because he wants to start to kite his opponent back as much as possible because he knows he just needs to buy time. That's all he needs to do right now. The longer he's mining, the farther and farther he gets ahead. So basically, the longer he sits in this game, the better his chances are of winning. And as you can see, he's now just adding on more and more gateways because he just needs to stay alive right now. If he just stays alive, MMA really has no follow-up to this attack, and he knows it. He knows he's in a pretty comfortable spot right now, so he just needs to hold on. He's not going for any big attacks where he's just going to be sacrificing his entire army. He's going to wait until he can fully pull back all the way back to his army, and as we can see, he's slowly just picking off these Marines, and MMA doesn't really have a whole lot in the way of reinforcements, and it looks like this Immortal on the high ground is going to be quite the hero Immortal, as it is going to force that GG out of MMA, meaning that Feast has taken Game 1, and we are now going to be jumping into Game 2 of MMA versus Feast, so stick around.